So it turns out I was kinda wrong about Sonic Origins. Kinda. Actually, I wasn't wrong at all. I was right at the time. The game shouldn't have been anywhere near as buggy as it was when it came out, and the patch that came out over a month and a half later was a fucking insult to people that care about Sonic. Of course, I will admit that I've gone back to Sonic Origins since then as sort of a guilty pleasure, since to be fair, for the most part, it's the original games on the Genesis that started the series to begin with, and they're good games. But still, they shouldn't have been that buggy that far after launch. Just the day before the DLC Sonic Origins Plus was released, Sonic Origins itself got a major patch that fixed almost everything that was wrong with the game. It fixed Sonic 3, it fixed the random crashes, it changed the game entirely. And the day after, when Plus came out, base game was lowered to $30 price tag, down from $40. And I'd actually say the base game is worth the cost now. Well worth the cost, actually. Now, it shouldn't have taken almost a year to fix this game, but I'm glad that they did because my opinion of the game is actually really good now. The patch fixed everything I hated, and it made the game worth playing. When Origins Plus was announced, I knew Sega would have to earn my trust, really, really earn my trust, to get me to even consider buying the DLC. And I'm happy to say that trust was actually earned. So, I bought the Plus DLC, and to be honest, I do like having even more games now, as well as more playable characters, but I do wish that I had gotten all of that for $40 rather than 50. However, I would actually say that Sonic Origins Plus is actually worth $50. I really love it now. It's the best way to play any of the games in the collection, unless you have a problem with the botched music in Sonic 3. And I have to say, I was wrong about Sonic CD as well. For the longest time, I thought Sonic CD was mediocre or just bad, barely worth playing, let alone paying for playing it. But since then, I've gotten to know the game because of how much Origins improved since last year. It's actually quite fun, and getting the machines in the past stages is a challenge, but it's not too hard and it doesn't take too long. And thank God, because the special stages are hard as fuck. Sonic CD has two awesome soundtracks, one Japanese soundtrack and one American soundtrack. Unfortunately, the Origins version doesn't quite get either of those soundtracks right. At least they're not as good as they were, in my opinion, in the 2011 release of the Sonic CD remaster. And that, in my opinion, had the best versions of the tracks, especially for Japanese Stardust Speedway B-Mix. But the fact that the music isn't as good as it was before isn't a deal breaker because the game itself is actually a lot better than I gave it credit for. Graphics are stellar for Sega Genesis era standards, and the improvements using the Retro engine are quite welcome as well. Now, the story of the game starts with Amy Rose reading her fortune cards, finding out she's destined to meet a knight in shining armor. Meanwhile, Sonic finds out that Eggman has captured Little Planet. Yes, literally captured an entire fucking planet. And that's pretty badass. And he's tethered the planet to Earth. Anyways, Sonic isn't too happy about that, so he runs up the chains tethering the two planets together, and his adventure begins on Little Planet. Sonic CD lets you choose between the two soundtracks the game launched with in 1993, yes, but it also lets you choose between the original Sonic 2 Spin Dash or the unique, crappy, some would say, version introduced in Sonic CD. And it does kind of suck, but it's also kind of underrated. Sonic and Tails go through 7 zones with 2 acts and a boss each. Unique enemies, fast-paced gameplay Sonic is known for, and some bosses that are actually pretty cool, if a bit on the easy side. By hitting a signpost and going 88 miles an hour, Sonic or Tails can go into the zone's doomed future or the serene past. And if you destroyed the machine in the past that I mentioned a bit earlier, that act gets a good future, and if you get a good future in all 14 acts of the game, you unlock the good ending. In the third act of each zone, you play in the future, and if you got a good future in both acts before, you get a good future in the third act as well. If you miss one of the machines in one of the past areas or fail to go to the past entirely, you'll have to get all 7 time stones and then you can still get the good ending. Luckily, Sonic Origins lets you retry a special stage that you failed if you have at least one coin left. So keep trying to beat up those UFOs and carry your little planet to freedom and prosperity. The game also introduces another underrated move to Sonic's arsenal, the Super Peel Out. It's like the spin dash, but it's faster, and not a spin dash. And it's good for going long distances to get that sweet 88 MPH. Just find a good clear spot to do it before you start, and you'll get a good area to do a time travel. It's also good for speed running. The game is just so fun, and the time travel mechanic fits so cleanly into the game's theme and the narrative that I'd actually say now that Sonic CD is one of my favorite Sonic games. And of course, I wouldn't have been able to fall in love with Sonic CD if it wasn't for the hard work of Sonic Team and Headcanon to get this game into its proper working state after Sega forced them to rush it out. Izuka really does get too much hate for things that are beyond his control, and I want to thank him, his team, Stealth's team for an amazing experience, and to Sega for finally letting them finish that experience. And that's my review of Sonic CD and Sonic Origins, but mostly Sonic CD. If you enjoyed the video, press the like button down below, and if you really enjoyed, subscribe to see more videos like this one. Until next time, stay safe and stay cool.